is good? It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're going to be going over and talking about whether head coach Pink Diamond Mike D'Antoni is worth the lock-in for you in your specific squad. Now, I want to preface this video by saying Mike D'Antoni is super expensive. Basically, a little under $50 if you buy it outright with VC. If you're looking at MT, you're probably spending 600, 700,000 MT, so it is super expensive. Now, I do want to give a massive shout out to Blasian. That's where this screenshot's from. He posted this to Twitter because I did not personally want to lock in Mike D'Antoni yet. Now, let's talk about it. First question that I want to go over. Is Mike D'Antoni the best coach in my team? That's the first question. And I'm going to be comparing it to who I use right now, who is Mike Brown. So for Mike Brown, the game trigger, okay, for Mike D'Antoni is your team's first possession of the game, and it ends at the end of the game. For Mike Brown, your team scores 7 in a row during the game, and it ends at the end of the game. So the big difference here is, I mean, yes, they're both, I would say, pretty good attribute-wise, honestly, relatively similar. I know D'Antoni boosts 3-ball, Mike Brown doesn't. But the big difference is Mike D'Antoni starts on the very first possession of the game. So you don't have to do anything special for the coach to trigger. And I think that is super important because, I mean, a lot of these coaches, if I'm just scrolling through all my coaches, none of them really last the entirety of the game. Even Greg Popovich, who gives workhorse, doesn't last the entire game. Even Phil Jackson starts in the second half. Mike D'Antoni lasts the entirety of the game, which again, I do want to say is really important and is something that I think is worth at least looking into. Now, whether that's worth it for you guys or not, I think it's worth looking into. Now, with that being said, like I want to give you guys the exact amount that Mike D'Antoni is MT-wise. So MT-wise, you've got 3 diamonds to lock in for. Now, you guys might be like, okay, Ty, I don't really care, but it is important to know. So that's already 550 to 1,000 MT. Then you got a couple of amethysts. And by the time you lock in those amethysts, which is 84,000 MT a piece, you're looking at 720,000 MT. Then, by the time you get the rubies, you're looking at 780,000 MT. Then after the sapphires, you're looking at 830,000 MT. And then with the emeralds, you're finally basically looking at 865,000 MT for Mike D'Antoni. 865,000 MT. Now that's basically for Mike D'Antoni because that's the only lock-in. It's not like I can say, oh, but you get all this with it, because you don't. You could sell all that back. And even if you want to take 40% of 865,000 MT, okay, 400,000 MT for Mike D'Antoni. I can't with good conscience say that he is worth that. I can't, because I mean, you can buy so much with that amount of MT. So for me, is Mike D'Antoni ultimately worth it for the majority of people playing this game? I'm going to say no. Now, with that being said, I think he's the best coach in the game by a decent margin, and I do think his longevity is going to be at least a couple months. I think it'll be a couple of months before we find somebody that is going to outdo what Mike D'Antoni can do on the court for you in your specific squad. I'm a believer that coaches, do they matter? Yes. But I would rather you guys go get, I'm just going to throw out a name, I'd rather you guys go pick up a guy like Paul George at the shooting guard position than get Mike D'Antoni. I think he's more worth it, and you don't have to necessarily lock in for him. So that's kind of where I prioritize things, even for me personally, right? I could lock in Mike D'Antoni. I basically got all the cards to do it, but it's like, would I rather have Mike D'Antoni, or even for me, I don't have Paul George, or go get Paul George and then eventually be able to sell him back when I'm tired of him. Those are kind of the pros and cons that you guys need to weigh for yourselves, but there's no doubt about it, guys. With what he boosts, with when the game triggers, with what, you know, when it ends, he is unquestionably by far and away the best coach in the game. And like I said before, I really don't believe it's particularly close. I mean, when you're looking at speed and 3-ball, those are the 2 most important attributes in the entire game. Speed and 3-ball. As well as he gives ball control. Ball control is a really good attribute. Now, driving, layup, hustle, those are basically pointless. But the 3 he does boost in 3-ball speed, a couple of the most important ones in the entire game, as well as ball control, those are super important. And I don't want people to think, oh, those don't matter, because those definitely do matter, and I will be the first to tell you guys that. So, I don't know. To me, to lock in 860 whatever thousand MT for the card, or to lock in, I guess if you buy them all together, it's 200,000 VC basically. If you buy them separate, you're looking at 400 some thousand VC for a Mike D'Antoni coach card. I just think it's crazy, especially because again, we have plenty of other coaches in my team. I mean, we've seen coaches last year and years before. We know we're gonna get an Opal coach probably by March, in which then Mike D'Antoni will already be outclassed. We'll probably continue to get more and more pink diamond coaches now that the first one is out. So, I mean, if you lock in Mike D'Antoni, I would say this: you either better be playing in like Players Lounge tournaments, you better be playing in My Team wagers, something like that. Because if you get Mike D'Antoni for My Team Unlimited, you're in too deep. That's the way I would phrase it. Because I get spending money, spending your MT on cards you want to use and have fun with, like LeBron, like James Harden, like anybody. Even if you really want, I'm just gonna throw the name Russell Westbrook. I get all that because those are fun cards to use. I can't say the same about Mike D'Antoni. I can't say Mike D'Antoni is a fun coach to use. Like, sure, you might make more threes and stuff, and you might like him as a coach, but I don't think there's like a such thing as a fun coach. And if there is, I just think us as a community are just looking at things so wrong. I feel like this coach card, in the gap between him and the next best coach, is such a pay-to-win concept. It really is. It is a pay-to-win concept, because I can't say it doesn't matter, but I just hate the fact that coaches in my team are paid to win. I just hate it. To me, that just really does bug me. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me being biased. Maybe it's just me being strong-headed. But I do not want to lock in Mike D'Antoni. And I'll say it like this. If I were to lock in Mike D'Antoni, the only reason would be because I play in Players Lounge tournaments and I play in other competitive type settings, whether it be My Team wagers, stuff like that. I just think there are so many other things in my team that you can focus your MT towards. Again, whether that's like a Paul George, whether that's like a James Harden. Heck, whether that's even you locking in a Kareem, who I think is more worth it than a Mike D'Antoni. Those would all be my recommendations. Obviously, you're not getting a coach close to what Mike D'Antoni gives you in the game as of now. But to say he's worth it, I just can't do. You might watch another video talking about how Mike D'Antoni's worth it, and I get it. But he's a coach at the end of the day. And yes, those boosts are super important. But what I would say is just make sure all your guys on the court just have shoe boosts. +4 shoe boosts. I would do that before locking in for Mike D'Antoni, because that is going to be way cheaper at the end of the day. I don't know. I need your guys' thoughts on D'Antoni down below in the comments. All I'm going to say is this. If I'm sweating in My Team Unlimited and my opponent's sweating me hard, and I look at his coach and it's Mike D'Antoni, I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get mad because it's such a pay-to-win concept. Just don't be mad if I buy Mike D'Antoni because I have to, okay? I don't want to. Don't be mad if I have to. I do not believe he's worth it. That's my final opinion on things. Good boost, good game trigger, good when it ends, but when it comes down to it, I just can't say he's ultimately worth it. That's going to wrap it up for our video. Let me know your thoughts on D'Antoni down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.